Well, hello. Welcome back to the 48 Laws of Power discussion series. I'm your host, Darth Idius. Tonight we will be talking about the oh my excessively violent Law 15. So without further ado, please go subscribe to Divinity said. Divinity. That is. This is a YouTube channel. There ain't nothing there. Except for awesome clips. Hi Div. Welcome to the live. Yes, please everybody go subscribe to Divinity's YouTube channel. It's more good. It's less colorful. Damn, why are we lagging? I'm lagging hard. The rainbow. Law 15. It's incredibly violent. This law here. And Law 15. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh. Oh, hello, beautifully. Law 15. Crush your enemy totally. I didn't get a chance to read the whole thing, but I skimmed through and read most of it, and just a very violent law. Just one of those parental discretion advised. What's that? You say? What's that? So yeah, sorry, everything like broke loose in my house the moment I went live because that's how the fuck it happens. 1 second, please. I'll be right back. Okay. We're back. Where was we? Lost 15. Oh yeah. This is an incredibly violent and aggressive sounding law. Crush your enemy totally. There's really not any hidden meaning with this one, I don't think. So that's probably going to just be a fun explanation as to why this is a good idea. Shalomania. Hello, Shalomania. I wonder where everyone else is. This is the normal night that I'm actually supposed to do these. This place should be packed, I tell you. Ah, raining. So does anybody want a positive theory on why you might want to crush your enemy totally? Like what could be the value of not showing mercy? It'd be the Jerusalem and is cold. 2 Californies. Dead men tell no tales. That's a reasonable theory. Anyone else got a thought on crushing your enemy? Because sometimes you might have more than one enemy. You might have some enemies. You need thermal, like, bodysuit. You can just, like, you know how they have electric blanket? You need electric clothing, everything. Maybe just a good electric hat. They say you lose 90% of your body heat through your head. I don't know about that, but could be. So anybody want to hear about crushing your enemies? Anyone got any enemies that they would like to crush totally? We'll start there. I don't have enemies. It's kind of a waste of effort. I got people and I got unpeople. You can keep your enemies. I mean, they probably have those. That's funny. Divinity says they probably had those at adamandeve.com. That's inappropriate, but this a parental advisory, viewer discretion advised stream right here. Law 15. Crush your enemy totally. Judgment. All great leaders since Moses have known that a feared enemy must be crushed completely. Sometimes they have learned this the hard way. If one ember is left alight, no matter how dimly it smolders, a fire will eventually break out. More is lost through stopping halfway than through total annihilation. The enemy will recover and will seek revenge. Crush him not only in body but in spirit. Oh my goodness. All great leaders since Moses denounced this. I feel like we haven't had any great leaders in our lifetime. I haven't seen this. This doesn't seem to be the way we do business anymore. But apparently, this has a lot of history. But I do concede to one point of this italicized text here, and that is very specifically this part where it says the enemy will recover and will seek revenge. I'll say they may seek revenge. They may not always seek revenge, but you don't want them seeking revenge, so you don't want them having that opportunity. I have a feeling this argument right here is the argument that people are using right now to advocate for genocide of certain religious sects in certain regional locations. That is, yeah, crush them is the true. Even the Bible says avoid by negotiating, sending gifts, and praying. But after that is on, I mean, what's up, first wood shot? Welcome to the YouTube side of shit. These people that hang out on Rumble a lot. I mean, I hear a lot of people using the argument that if you let the women and the children live, the kids grow up to hate you, and it just perpetuates intergenerational hate. So this is the argument that I hear people using. I'm not saying I'm using this argument. I'm just saying this is an argument I hear people using to advocate for the genocidosity. You know. hmm All the cool kids from Rumble started on YouTube. I started this series on YouTube, so I figured I'm gonna finish it here. Yes, if you could please sub to Divinity, it's this link right here. If you could just go sub to that on YouTube, so that Divinity doesn't. It looks like Divinity isn't losing subs as quickly as she is, because she doesn't make content on YouTube anymore. So the people who want to watch her YouTube content are leaving. It's sad, but make content, make good videos. How about that, Mr. Beast? So anyway, I'm just gonna spoil this for your chat right now. Anytime you see italicized text in this chapter, you're gonna find something really freaking brutal in there. So italicized text means extreme violence. Yeah, I sub to Divinity too. It's nice. She cool. Transgression of the law. No rivalry between leaders is more celebrated in Chinese history than the struggle between Xiang Yu and Liu Peng. These two generals began their careers as friends, fighting on the same side. Xiang Yu came from the nobility, large and powerful, given to bouts of violence and temper, a bit dull-witted. He was yet a mighty warrior who always fought at the head of his troops. So he's a meathead, is what I'm hearing. Sounds like a giant meathead, but what they considered at the time a noble warrior because he fought at the head of his troops, which is like a noble thing to do and shit, or so they say. Liu Peng came from peasant stock. He had never been much of a soldier, and preferred women and wine to fighting. This sounds like my kind of dude right here. Except for I like to fight a little bit too, but the women and the wine, please, and also the fighting, but not for Sirio, just for fun, for funsies. In fact, he was something of a scoundrel, but he was wily, and he had the ability to recognize the best strategists keeping them as his advisors and listen to their advice. This is key. If you're going to keep good advisors around you, you got to listen to them and not be a jackass. He had risen in the army through these strengths. So you got one guy who got his way to where he was by brute force, and the other guy used his wits and his ability to keep all the best people around him. This seems reasonable. This, however, seems quite unreasonable. Oh my. The remnants of an enemy can become active like those of a disease or fire. Hence, these should be exterminated completely. One should never ignore an enemy, knowing him to be weak. He becomes dangerous in due course, like the spark of fire in a haystack. Cotilia. See, these italicized text means very, very violent. Very violent indeed. I didn't say we didn't like it. I said you left that to come do this. Why? That don't make no sense. I'd have been like, yeah, Darth Sidious, who the fuck is that? In 208 BC, the king of Chu sent two massive armies to conquer the powerful kingdom of Chin. Yes, this is the names of these places. One army went north under the generalship of Sung Yi, Yang Yu, second in command. The other, led by Liu Pang, headed straight toward the Chin. You'll punch you straight in the chin. The target was the kingdom's splendid capital, Xianyang. All these names sound the same too, by the way. Not to be racist or anything. And why did they have to specify that the kingdom's capital is splendid? It can just be the capital. And Xiang Yu, ever violent and impatient, could not stand the idea and perhaps would assume command of the entire army. Okay, so we got an inter-army competition here. By the sounds of it, is what is happening. I mean, can't say I blame you for that. Are you taking notes? No. Oh dear. Should I be testing on these? So we got a race. That's what we got going on so far. Xiang Yu and Liu Pang, and they're both trying to conquer Xianyang, which is a splendid capital of the Chin. There's another punch-in right here. The trap at Sinagaglia. It's really long, and it's not adding a whole lot, so I'm going to skip it. But it's assured that because it's in italicized text, there's a lot of violence going on in there. Too much violence, in fact. And it really does throw the whole flow of this story off. At one point on the northern front, Xiang's commander Sung Yi hesitated in sending his troops into battle. Furious, Xiang entered Sung Yi's tent proclaimed him a traitor, cut off his head, and assumed sole command of the army. So this guy, Xiang Yu, was the second in command in his army. Sung Yi was the commander, and because he didn't attack fast enough for his second in command's lightning, he was a bitch and cut off his head. Kind of a dick move, but when you're a giant meathead, I mean, and you're motivated by things other than doing proper military work, you're motivated by yourself. Well, I just don't see this going good. Please, if you guys could, go sub to Divinity. This is not about learning. This is about killing your enemy entirely and subbing to Divinity. If you could just please go sub to her so that she doesn't murder me entirely. You ain't gonna learn many lessons here. You're just gonna learn that it's good to kill them all the way dead and make sure they stay all the way dead. Without waiting for orders, he left the northern front and marched directly on Xianyang. He felt certain he was the better soldier, leading a smaller, swifter army, managed to reach Xianyang first. Xiang had an advisor, Fan Seng, who warned him this village headman used to be greedy only for riches and women, but since entering the capital, he has not been led astray by wealth, wine, or sex. That shows he is aiming high. He is going for real power. Oh, already subbed. Called you babe and everything. Ain't that adorable? Sorry we missed the cheers, y'all. I was distracted. But cheers, y'all. Fan Sang urged Xiang to kill his rival before it was too late. He told the general to invite the wily peasant to a banquet at their camp outside Xianyang, and, in the midst of a celebratory sword dance, to have his head cut off. Beta! The invitation was sent. Liu fell for the trap and came to the banquet. But Xiang hesitated in ordering the sword dance, and by the time he gave the signal, Liu had sensed a trap and managed to escape. Man, you ain't even good at suckering people. I'm not even kidding you. This is damn, this guy's not too bright though, is he? Bah! Cried in disgust, seeing that Xiang had botched the plot. One cannot plan with a simpleton. Yeah, he's not too bright. Liu Pang will steal your empire yet and make us all his prisoners. That's because he's smarter than you. Realizing his mistake, Xiang hurriedly marched on Xianyang, this time determined to hack off his rival's head. Liu was never one to fight when the odds were against him, and he abandoned the city. Xiang captured Xian Yang, murdered the young prince of the Inn, and burned the city to the ground. Liu was now Xiang's bitter enemy. These two is still fighting supposedly on the same side. And he pursued him for many months, finally cornering him in a walled city. Lacking food, his army in disarray, Liu sued for peace. Again Fan Seng warned Xiang, crush him now. If you let him go again, you will be sorry later. But Xiang decided to be merciful. He wanted to bring Liu back to Cha'u alive and force his former friend to acknowledge him as master. But Fan proved right. Liu managed to use the negotiations for his surrender as a distraction, and he escaped with a small army. Xiang, amazed that he had yet again let his rival slip away, once more set out after Liu, this time with such ferocity that he seemed to have lost his mind. See, yeah, should have just killed him right that first time. Then, then maybe, just maybe, you wouldn't have to chase him so damn much. But no, you ain't caught on to Law 15. You gotta crush your enemy totally that first time. Although, it really does seem like you picked this fight, and you is pursuing uh, Liu Pang all through the Hell's Half Acre. At one point, having captured Liu's father in battle, Xiang stood the old man up during the fighting and yelled to Liu across the line of troops, "Surrender now, or I shall boil your father alive." Liu calmly answered, "But we are sworn brothers, so my father is your father also. If you insist on boiling your own father, send me a bowl of the soup." Mm. Xiang backed down, and the struggle continued. So this this does not sound like a good bluffy. Oh dear God, lagging again. What the shit? Hold on, y'all. I don't know why I'm lagging so hard. This is a problem. Well, stand by, please. Is technical difficulties. Please forgive. It's technical difficulties. Oh my freaking goodness. Un momento. Por favor. Okay, that should be about enough of that. And it was just about to boil the father, and we didn't. Disappointing. A few weeks later, in the thick of the hunt, Xiang scattered his forces unwisely, and in a surprise attack, Liu was able to surround his main garrison. For the first time the tables were turned. Now it was Xiang who sued for peace. Liu's top advisor urged him to destroy Xiang, crush his army, show no mercy. To let him go would be like rearing a tiger, it will devour you later, the advisor said. Liu agreed. Making a false treaty, he lured Xiang into relaxing his defense, then slaughtered almost all of his army. Xiang managed to escape, alone and on foot. Knowing that Liu had put a bounty on his head, he had come upon a small group of his own retreating soldiers and cried out, I hear Liu Pang has offered 1,000 pieces of gold and a fief of 10,000 families for my head. Let me do you a favor. Then he slit his own throat and died. Oh. Uh, oh, that's a fun ending to your story. You should have not. You should have not. You guys was on the same team. You didn't have to do this. Oh, why were you worried about him having control of the whole army again? This doesn't make any sense. But you're dead. That's the point. Get dead. That is the point of this entire chapter. Is you are alive and they are alive, but they need to get the dead. It's really it's a lot of violence. But 1,000 gold pieces and a fief of 10,000 families. I don't know what a fief is. But that sounds like a lot. 1,000 pieces of gold, definitely a lot. That's like $1 billion today. Back in the BC times. Now we're gonna get into the interpretation, but before we do, I just want to say I don't likely see there being anything really shocking in this interpretation. Xiang Yu had proven his ruthlessness on many an occasion. He rarely hesitated in doing away with a rival if it served his purposes. But with Liu Pang he acted differently. He respected his rival and did not want to defeat him through deception. Even though you tried to lure him out to a sword dance and cut his head off, I mean, seems kind of like you bullshitting there. I mean, he didn't do it, he failed, but it's the thought that counts. Jesus knows what's in your heart. Jesus and Liu Pang, apparently. He wanted to prove his superiority on the battlefield, even to force the clever Liu to surrender and to serve him. This guy got a pretty big inflated ego, a big arrogant sense of self. Pride goeth before the fall. Every time he had his rival in his hands, something made him hesitate. A fatal sympathy with or respect for the man who, after all, had once been a friend and comrade in arms. But the moment Siang made it clear that he intended to do away with Liu, yet failed to accomplish it, he sealed his own doom. Liu would not suffer the same hesitation once the tables were turned, because yeah, you've been chasing him for a while. Like, he knows you'd be trying to kill him, and if he gets a chance, he's gonna kill you. This is the fate that faces all of us when we sympathize with our enemies, when pity or the hope of reconciliation makes us pull back from doing away with them. We only strengthen their fear and hatred of us. We have beaten them, and they are humiliated, yet we nurture these resentful vipers who will one day kill us. I know somebody who was by a raging Lolifant, and they was gonna kill this stampeding, treacherous, vile creature, but they didn't. And we hoping that it's not gonna come back to bite us in the future. If y'all don't know the tale of the Lolifant, you should go check out the fables from back in the before time. Power cannot be dealt with this way. It must be exterminated, crushed, and denied the chance to return to haunt us. This is all the truer with a former friend who has become an enemy. See, this is why they got to get rid of the Donald Trump, because he's the enemy now. Oh, did I must have missed the ending of that story. Just stampeding elephants. Glorious Boo's will. Uh, well, congratulations couldn't have happened to a nicer bitch. The law governing fatal antagonisms reads, reconciliation is out of the question. Only one side can win, and it must win totally. Liu Pang learned this lesson well. After defeating Xiang Yu, this son of a farmer went on to become supreme commander of the armies of Chu, crushing his next rival, the king of Chu, his own former leader, and crowned himself emperor. Defeated everyone in his path and went down in history as one of the greatest rulers of China, the immortal Han Kuo-su, founder of the Han Dynasty. Oh, Han Kuo-su. Or Kuo-su Han, really. I don't read Chinese or Surrender Monkey. But the founder of the Han Dynasty, that's a pretty big story right there. Oh, I hate you guys. Uh, to have ultimate victory, you must be ruthless. Napoleon Bonaparte. Those who seek to achieve things should show no mercy. Cartelia. See these little italicized It's very violent. Observance of the law. Wu Chao, born in 625 AD, was the daughter of a duke, and as a beautiful young woman of many charms, she was accordingly attached to the harem of Emperor Dai Sung. It looks like we're going back to China again, y'all. The Chinese, they the only ones who. The imperial harem was a dangerous place, full of young concubines vying to become the emperor's favorite. Wu's beauty and forceful character quickly won her this battle. But knowing that an emperor, like other powerful men, is a creature of whim, and that she could easily be replaced, she kept her eye on the future. Wu managed to seduce the emperor's dissolute son, Kaosung, on the only possible occasion when she could find him alone, while he was relieving himself at the royal urinal. Even so, when the emperor died and Kaosung took over the throne, she still suffered the fate to which all wives and concubines of a deceased emperor were bound by tradition and law. Her head shaven, she entered a convent for what was supposed to be the rest of her life. For 7 years, Wu schemed to escape by communicating in secret with the new emperor, and by befriending his wife, the empress, she managed to get a highly unusual royal edict allowing her to return to the palace and to the royal harem. Once there, she fawned on the empress while still sleeping with the emperor. The empress did not discourage this, yet she had yet to provide the emperor with an heir. Her position was vulnerable, and Wu was a valuable ally. I don't think you're right about that, lady. In 654, Wu Chao gave birth to a child. One day the empress came to visit, and as soon as she left, Wu smothered the newborn, her own baby. When the murder was discovered, suspicion immediately fell on the empress, who had been on the scene moments earlier and whose jealous nature was known by all. This was precisely Wu's plan. Shortly thereafter, the empress was charged with murder and executed. Oh wow. This bitch is this bitch is a new kind of savage. This is an ambitious woman right here. Wu Chao was crowned empress in her place. Her new husband, addicted to his life of pleasure, gladly gave up the reins of government to Wu Chao, who was from then on known as Empress Wu. Although now in a position of great power, Wu hardly felt secure. There were enemies everywhere. Yeah, you should know. You be one. That's our last Empress, how that worked out. hanging out with you, homie. She could not let her guard down for one moment. Indeed, when she was 41, she began to fear that young niece's her beautiful young niece was becoming the emperor's favorite. She poisoned the woman with a clay mixed into her food. In 675, her own son, touted as the heir apparent, was poisoned as well. The next eldest son, illegitimate, but now the crown prince, was exiled a little later on trumped up charges. And when the emperor died in 683, Wu managed to have the son after that declared unfit for the throne. All this meant that it was her youngest, most ineffectual son who finally became emperor. In this way, she continued to rule. This bitch is crazy, crazy. Wu-Tang Clan forever. Over the next 5 years, there were innumerable palace coups. All of them failed, and all of the conspirators were executed. By 688, there was no one left to challenge Wu because she done murdered everybody. She proclaimed herself a divine descendant of Buddha. Proclaimed herself, okay. And in 690, her wishes were finally granted. She was named Holy and Divine Emperor of China. Wow, that's a lot. Wu became emperor because there was literally nobody left from the previous Tang dynasty. So she ruled unchallenged for over a decade of relative peace. In 705, at the age of 80, she was forced to abdicate. That's brutal. 80 years old, they finally forced her off the throne. What the fuck was y'all waiting for? Interpretation. We're gonna find out what everybody was waiting for. All who knew Empress Wu remarked on her energy and intelligence. At the time, there was no glory available for an ambitious woman beyond a few years in the imperial harem and then a lifetime walled up in a convent. In Wu's gradual but remarkable rise to the top, she was never naive. She knew that any hesitation, any momentary weakness, would spell her end. If, every time she got rid of a rival, a new one appeared, the solution was simple. She had to crush them all or be killed herself. I feel like they wasn't killing people. They was just shaving their heads and sending them to go live with the nuns in the nunnery in the convent. They was not killing you, but you was killing them for sure. For sure, for sure. This is not the same. Other emperors before her had followed the same path to the top, but Wu, who, as a woman, had next to no chance to gain power, had to be more ruthless still. Yes, yes. This bitch crazy, crazy. Empress Wu's 40-year reign was one of the longest in Chinese history. Although the story of her bloody rise to power is well known, in China she is considered one of the period's most able and effective rulers. Yeah, because if you challenged her rule, you got dead. Oh yeah, she's very, very effective. Very effective. Yeah, because all the people who said, I think she sucks, they're all dead now. It's a difference. It's a difference. That's how history records you as the superhero. You kill everyone who disagrees with you. And I do mean everyone. A priest asked the dying Spanish statesman and general, Ramon Maria Narvaez, "Does your excellency forgive all your enemies?" "I do not have to forgive my enemies," answered Narvaez, my bad. "I have had them all shot." Ah, more italic violence. You will own nothing and you will be happy. Or shot. Keys to power. It is no accident that the two stories illustrating this law come from China, because Chinese people knew how to deal with a surrendered opponent. They killed them. Chinese history abounds with examples of enemies who were left alive and returned to haunt the lenient. Crush the enemy is a key strategic tenet of Sun Tzu, the 4th century BC author of The Art of War, one of my favorite philosophers. The idea is simple. Your enemies wish you ill. There is nothing they want more than to eliminate you. If, in your struggles with them, you stop halfway or even 3/4 of the way out of mercy or hope of reconciliation, you only make them more determined, more embittered, and they will someday take revenge. People hold a grudge a long time. They may act friendly for the time being, but this is only because you have defeated them. They have no choice but to bide their time. The solution? Have no mercy. Crush your enemies as totally as they would crush you. Ultimately, the only peace and security you can hope for from your enemies is their disappearance. Uh, this military shit sounds like it's for the birds, y'all. Mao Zedong, a devoted reader of Sun Tzu and of Chinese history generally, knew the importance of this law. Chairman Mao, to y'all. In 1934, the communist leader and some 75,000 poorly equipped soldiers fled into the desolate mountains of western China to escape Chiang Kai-shek's much larger army in what has since been called the Long March. Chiang was determined to eliminate every last communist, and by a few years later Mao had less than 10,000 soldiers left. By 1937, in fact, when China was invaded by Japan, Chiang calculated that the communists were no longer a threat. He chose to give up the chase and concentrate on the Japanese. 10 years later, the communists had recovered enough to rout Chiang's army. Chiang had forgotten the ancient wisdom of crushing the enemy. Mao had not. Chiang was pursued until he and his entire army fled to the island of Taiwan. His regime in mainland China to this day. And to this day, they are still being pursued by Chairman Mao's goddamn communists because they can't not destroy everything they touch. The wisdom behind crushing the enemy is as ancient as the Bible. Its first practitioner may have been Moses, who learned it from God himself when he parted the Red Sea for the Jews, then let the water flow back over the pursuing Egyptians so that not so much as one of them remained. Oh, yeah. He might have picked that one up from God, y'all. Yeah, that. Oops. Literally crushing the enemy with the Red Sea. When Moses returned from Mount Sinai with the Ten Commandments and found his people worshipping the golden calf, he had every last offender slaughtered, and just before he died, he told his followers, finally about to enter the promised land, that when they had defeated the tribes of Canaan, they should utterly destroy them, make no covenant with them, and show no mercy to them. The goal of total victory is an axiom of modern warfare. It and was codified as such by Karl von Clausewitz, the premier philosopher of war. Analyzing the campaigns of Napoleon, von Clausewitz wrote, "We do not claim that direct annihilation of the enemy's forces must always be the dominant consideration. Once a major victory is achieved, there must be no talk of rest, of breathing space, but only of the pursuit, going for the enemy again, seizing his capital, attacking his reserves, and anything else that might give his country aid and comfort. The reason for this is that after war come negotiation and the division of territory. If you have only won a partial victory, you will inevitably lose in negotiation what you have gained by war." Just kill them all and take all their shit. That was a lot of words. That was a lot of words to say. Kill them all and take all of their shit. Because, I mean, if you win a complete victory and you kill them all, who you got to negotiate with on who gets the spoils of war? No, I guess I'll take it then. Maybe we should conquer Canada. That seems like a good idea. They don't have no army, so I got a Saturday afternoon and a box of shells. The solution is simple. Allow your enemies no options. Annihilate them and their territory is yours to carve. There you go. That's what I just said. The goal of power is to control your enemies completely, to make them obey your will. You cannot afford to go halfway. If they have no options, they will be forced to do your bidding. This law has applications far beyond the battlefield. Negotiation is the insidious viper that will eat away at your victory, so give your enemies nothing to negotiate. No hope, no room to maneuver. They are crushed, and that is that. Anyone think this is quite with the brutal bullshit? The more I read into this, I was like, God, Jesus, they're not kidding. Realize this. In your struggle for power, you will stir up rivalries and create enemies. There will be people you cannot win over, who will remain your enemies no matter what. But whatever wound you inflicted on them, deliberately or not, do not take their hatred personally. Just recognize there is no possibility of peace between you, especially as long as you stay in power. If you let them stick around, they will seek revenge, as certainly as night follows day. To wait for them to show their cards is just silly. As Empress Wu understood, by then it will be too late. I mean, how much the relevancy of this situation is the current relevancy of the situation today, where we let certain communists come over here after a certain World War II where Germany lost again. And I mean, there is a clear line to be drawn between the disbanding of the Frankfurt School and the rise of what is currently destroying the free America experiment of today. There's a lot to be said in this. That's a different storybook, though. That's a different discussion. Where we at? Be realistic. With an enemy like this around, you will never be secure. Remember the lessons of history and the wisdom of Moses and Mao. Never go halfway. It is not, of course, a question of murder. It is a question of banishment. Sufficiently weakened and then exiled from your court forever, your enemies are rendered harmless. They have no hope of recovering, insinuating themselves and hurting you. If they cannot be banished, at least understand that they are plotting against you, and pay no heed to whatever friendliness they feign. Your only weapon in such a situation is your own wariness. If you cannot banish them immediately, then plot for the best time to act. I'll banish you fucking later. Moses and Mao for the win. The bushing bush? The burning bush? I consulted the burning bush before this too. I also consulted the burning bush during this multiple times because Moses knows what's up. Yeah, I talked to the burning bush. What does the burning bush say? Cheers. Image. A viper crushed beneath your foot, but left alive, will rear up and bite you with a double dose of venom. An enemy that is left around is like a half-dead viper that you nurse back to health. Time makes the venom grow stronger. Authority. For it must be noted that men must either be caressed or else annihilated. They will revenge themselves for small injuries, but cannot do so for great ones. The injury, therefore, that we do to a man must be such that we need not fear his vengeance. Machiavelli. Not to be confused with Machiavelli. We had to go over this last week. Burn the bush, bite the cheeks. Some. I don't know. Burn the bush. Oh my goodness, is this what is this what this means? I mean, I don't disagree with first one shot on that, though. Just for the record. Sorry, I was kind of not paying attention to what you guys was actually talking about because you wasn't actually talking about nothing that was relevant to this story of violence and bloodshed and violence and bloodshed and violence. I wasn't trying to ignore that chat, though. Looks like everybody left because this is too much of a violent story. It was like, oh shit. Parental guidance. Viewer discretion advised. Reversal. Reversal. This law should very rarely be ignored, but it does sometimes happen that it is better to let your enemies destroy themselves, if such a thing is possible, than to make them suffer by your hand. This is why I don't get involved in the Republicans and the Democrats. Which one of these teams am I on? I'm not either. I'm not on either. Y'all knock each other out. Don't make me pay for it. I'm sick of the part where we all have to pay for y'all bullshit. Y'all just fight. That's fine. In warfare, for example, a good general knows that if he attacks an army that is cornered, its soldiers will fight much more fiercely because they got no other options. It is sometimes better, then, to leave them an escape route, a way out. As they retreat, they wear themselves out and are ultimately more demoralized by the retreat than by any defeat he might inflict on the battlefield. When you have someone on the ropes, then, but only when you are sure they have no chance of recovery, you might let them hang themselves. Let them be the agents of their own destruction. The result will be the same, and you won't feel half as bad. I didn't kill you, I just cut off all the food to the place where you were, and you starved. The starve killed you. Not me. I didn't do that. I was a good boy. I didn't do nothing. Finally, sometimes by crushing an enemy, you embitter them so much that they spend years and years plotting revenge. The Treaty of Versailles had such an effect on the Germans. Some would argue that in the long run it would be better to show some leniency. The problem is, your leniency involves another risk. It may embolden the enemy, which still harbors a grudge, but now has some room to operate. It is almost always wiser to crush your enemy. If they plot revenge years later, do not let your guard down, but simply crush them again. The end. Like I said, there's no deep, subtle nuances in this chapter. This chapter was simply very, very single-minded focused to crush the enemy. Crush him completely. Don't stop crushing. This guy crushes. But anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed Raw 15. Like I said, not a whole lot to talk about. If you don't believe in crushing your enemy, maybe power's not for you. Trump? What about Trump? They're trying to crush him. They're trying to crush him completely. They're trying to make sure he can't recover. Oh, it's pouring now. The rain is trying to crush you. It's your enemy. Will it snow? Oh my goodness, if it snowed there before it snows here, the world is backwards. That would be really backwards. But anyway, hope you all enjoyed Law 15. I won't be doing one tomorrow night because my favorite Rumble streamer is doing some sort of kind of some kind of a stream about something tomorrow night. I can't remember. It was really important. I think it was had to do with like the all the psyop weapons and the end of the world and conspiracies and all that. Oh, Stargate. That's right, Project Stargate. Operation Mockingbird. Operation MK Ultra. Operation Warp Speed. All the best conspiracies with Divinity 143 on Rumble. So if you not subscribed to Divinity 143 on Rumble, go subscribe to Divinity 143 on Rumble. And also subscribe to me. I'm Darth Idius on Rumble, same as here on the YouTubes. And I'll see you all for an early stream. I'm going to do a law on Friday, but I'm going to do it, I'm thinking noon Eastern time be an appropriate time on Friday to do Law 16, which will be Use absence to increase respect and honor. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, or so they be saying. So look for that on a Friday afternoon at around noontime, and I will see you all later. Love you, chat. Bye.